I remember one time, one of my friends was deriding me for buying novelties because there's no way an old mouthpiece can play better than a new mouthpiece. But also, I say, you can be amazed sometimes where you learn things. Sometimes you learn things from the most unexpected places. And that includes mouthpieces. This is a 1950s Lelandais, post-quality superior. And generally these facings are pretty terrible. I'm playing this with a Rico 2.5 Orange Box. Generally I play 3.5 V12, 3.5 plus 4, also Blue Box 3.5, 4. So this is very thin for me. But it does some pretty amazing things. So generally, when I play a reed that's that soft, I have trouble with pitch of my throat tones, but also getting altissimo with control. And you saw I just played double C there, nothing. Bonad would use no bite reeds, very, very, very light reeds on some of his students to discourage biting, which is an interesting concept. But this mouthpiece taught me something else. So there's this rubber bore. I'm going to remove it and grab my 1937 Selmer balanced action, and, well, and here we go. So when I started playing a lot of orchestral alto sax, which I've done a lot, I was inspired by the greats Vincent J. Abato and Joe Allard, who both taught at the Juilliard School, but also many others, Al Galladoro, and even a lot of people today. Well, I had trouble with altissimo, because altissimo on saxophone is so very different from altissimo on clarinet, but this thing... I had trouble with projection on saxophone, but this thing projects in such a very controlled way. A lot of saxophone mouthpieces today have square chambers, and that slowed down my air. But this thing's incredible. You really hear how fast the air is moving by the articulation. The staccato is just great. But also, intonation. People say they have trouble tuning a balanced action. Intonation on this thing's incredible. So, one thing that I find is a lot of saxophone players think they're playing dark. They describe what they're playing as dark. But for my ears, they're playing very bright. And so what I think is they're playing round, without a lot of bottom. Because when you add bottom on saxophone, it's hard to find focus. And there's a breathiness to this setup that is really informative, and it's very similar to what I do on clarinet. In order to achieve bottom on clarinet, I don't think dark. I think the breath creates breadth, B-R-E-A-D-T-H, and that creates a sound that's very pleasant from a distance. So what's also interesting, and I think I'll make another video, playing this mouthpiece on my SBA is not quite as good. It's because the design for saxophone, especially as it moved to bigger bores, moved more away from clarinet, and in a lot of ways, it found its own sound, but it lost something along the way, especially with World War II. But don't be afraid of learning something from a mouthpiece. Just because it doesn't fit into your paradigm and your identity, you might very well glean something from it.